continue. Okay, so today is, I think, the 17th of April. It's a Friday, so we're just heading up on the weekend, and we have a really wonderful, awesome, patient human being with us. Her name is Miles Ruby. So I want to just quickly introduce Miles Ruby, and we're going to be talking about mental health and wellness and just different tools that we as adults can use and that we can share with our kids to not just get through, the weekends, but all the days to come. So with that, Miles, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Oh, wait a minute. I think I muted you. So I'm not sure if you're muted. I see that you're talking, but I don't hear you. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, I can. Yay.
Hey.
Okay, awesome.
You gotta love technology, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We have all become immersed in it and tech savvy. Those of us who don't even want to be have had to adapt. And so, welcome to COVID-19. I think a lot of good is going to come out of this, when we think about it in retrospect. But I just want to say thank you for having me. I am a program facilitator at the Family Resource Center. I've been there 8 years as of March. And I'm also a certified parenting coach. I'm a D2L trained facilitator. I'm trained in, I'm a train the trainer for S.N.A.P, which is the Stop Now and Plan CBT model that we use for our kids. I also am trained in the collaborative and proactive solutions model as well from Dr. Ross Green. And I'm also a parent of 3 daughters, all grown, 26, 23, and 21. So they survived their childhood. And so I have a lot of experience. I'm still learning everything, something new every day. I think it's never too late to be a better parent. And I am no different from that. I'm human, I'm fallible. And especially during all this uncertainty, it's so important that we give ourselves some slack and, maybe lower a few of the expectations and let some things go and not be so hard on ourselves or our kids. And so with that, I'm really glad that I can bring some tools today, so hopefully something practical, because I always say it's important that we parent from a place of control. And if we're stressed and anxious and we're feeling, irritable, it's really hard to be the parent you want to be. And I'm no exception. And so I feel it's important that we have the tools and the self-awareness to practice self-control and self-regulation so that we can model that for our children. Because our children, I always say children see, children do. We are our children's first teachers. So with that, we want to make sure that we're modeling what we want them to learn. So how we're handling COVID-19, how we're handling all these extra demands, all of a sudden our homes have become schools and workplaces, and we don't get away, we don't get a break, we don't get to decompress. And so it's so important that we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of our families. And I always like to use the analogy of when we're traveling on an airplane and you're traveling with a child and they say, if, the cabin should lose pressure and the masks come down, what do they tell you? You don't put it on the child first.
You take care of yourself first.
Right. But that's what we all do, especially as mothers.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to take care of everyone else's needs and we're last on the totem pole. But what happens is if we don't put on our own oxygen mask first and take care of ourselves first, then we're going to be no good to that child. We're going to be passed out and then the child's going to be passed out, right? So it's not about being selfish, it's about survival. And, we always say you can't pour from an empty cup. So you need to, it's sometimes it might feel selfish, but I know I parent better when I'm rested, when I've had some release, from exercise or just being in nature or whatever it is I need that day. And different days is going to require different things. So that's why I think it's important for us to take a moment and take a breath, big deep breath, and just and realize, these are abnormal times, and this too shall pass. This is temporary. This is tough, but so are we. And so let's get going. Let's do the best we can, but we can only do the best we can with the tools we have. So with that, I'm hoping we can talk about some tools just to help you as, as a parent to maintain that self-control, to model being regulated and not coming from a place of stress and a big emotion.
Hmm.
Because when we come from a place of emotion, we tend to over consequence. We tend to regret things that we say. We
Hmm.
can't follow through. We're just all a big ball of emotion and we're not able to think clearly. So the steps I'm going to go through today are based off a CBT model,
Hmm.
and through the S.N.A.P program, which is Stop Now and Plan,
Hmm.
is basically a treatment group, a treatment model based off the cognitive behavioral therapy model, which works. This is how our brain works. Um, so what I like to do is first talk about the CBT triangle, and
Hmm.
basically what that talks about is the way we think affects the way we feel, and the way we feel affects the way we behave or our actions. So if you think of a triangle, right? Your thoughts are at the apex, and then your feelings are here, and then your behaviors here, or your actions. So it's all interrelated. But as parents, so often like, oh, I want to stop yelling at my kid. I'm going crazy. I'm just not being the parent I want to be. I'm making threats, and I'm all I feel like I'm doing is yelling and screaming at my kids, and even resorted to smacking them. And I swore I'd never do that, or whatever it is.
I think just really quickly, I think that a lot of parents can relate to what you're describing right now. Even in normal times, I think a lot of parents can relate.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh
know for
yeah.
a fact that the SNAP program that you guys at the Family Resource Center do, I know it works. I speak from personal experience, just because I've had the opportunity to take a couple of classes, and the tools that hopefully that we get a chance to cover today, I know really do work. And that's one of
Mm-hmm.
the reasons I wanted to speak with you today. I do feel like there's such a big amount of overwhelming stress for parents in general, just trying
Mm-hmm.
to manage everything. They've got their home, they've got the extra cleaning to do,
Oh,
um,
I know. It's
everything.
never ending.
Yeah, and their whole world, at least in my mind, I think in the past, before COVID, there were at least pockets of separation where a parent could at least go to work, and that, I mean, that would be considered in their mind that their break. That would be
Absolutely.
their time to
Yeah.
kind of think about how they want to deal with a child or manage a situation or address a concern. Whereas now it's 24/7, and it feels like if we don't deal with those situations right there, right in the moment, um, and we won't be doing a good job. And so we end up feeling not just frustrated with maybe our spouses or our children, but we feel frustrated with ourselves. And when you talked about putting the oxygen mask on yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
I really think that some of the tools that we'll talk about in a bit with SNAP are truly gonna help every single person, even if you don't have kids. I know that this program was, designed for kids and parents. I still use SNAP.
Oh, I use it every day. I mean, when I'm driving, I mean, with, other adults, it's not
Yeah,
just for kids, it's
yeah.
for everyone. And
So,
it's just the way our brains are wired. Because if I want to stop yelling, if I want to stop action, because it doesn't make me feel good as a mom, they feel bad, I feel bad, no one wins, the relationship's broken down, and now I got to repair, and I don't feel like it, and I feel like a bad parent, and I'm overwhelmed with this and that, and
and you go to
the
bed with it
dogs,
too.
huh?
You go to bed with it as well. Like
Right,
after
right.
after you feel like you've kind of lived through this day of whatever it looks like for everybody, because everybody's day emotionally right now is going to feel different. You take
Hmm.
those things to bed, and I know a lot of parents are struggling to even sleep at night for various reasons. And I'm really excited when you talked about the CBT, and you talked about the different points of what makes up that triangle. I know that you were going in that direction, and I just wanted to share with you. Can you pick that up and then take us forward
Sure,
in terms of what we could look to aim to have for something that looks positive and healthy, and how do we get there?
sure. Can you hear me? My
Yeah.
mic. Okay. So what I like to do is think of, like, use a scenario of our thoughts. So if it starts with our thoughts, so let's say we get can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm just going to write
Okay.
some notes because you said first,
Okay.
because I think it's important that if people are watching, they
Hmm.
can rewatch this video as many times as possible. But I always think when you start to say something, if you just write it down, it's kind of like a prompter. So you say we
Sure.
start with our thoughts.
So we start with the thoughts, and let's say your child hits their brother, their sibling.
Yeah.
So if the negative thought is, oh my gosh, I did not raise him this way, right? I brought him up better than that. And then that leads to a feeling, and the feeling can be angry, frustrated, annoyed, even embarrassed if it happens in front of someone. Let's say you're in a Zoom conference and the kids come flying by and they're screaming at each other and hitting each other, well, that's a whole nother set of emotions.
Yes.
And then it leads to our action, and our action could be shouting, spanking, punishment, that. So the negative thoughts lead to negative feelings, need to lead to negative actions. So we want to change how we feel and behave. We have to start with what we can control, and those are our thoughts. It's that self-talk we have in our head. And so many of us think that these thoughts just fly in our head and we have no control of it. We do. It's work. It's easier said than done. But when we have these negative thoughts, in S.N.A.P, we call them hard thoughts. These are thoughts that aren't helpful or realistic. Now, they might be somewhat realistic, but they're not helping you feel any better. So what we want to do is start looking at, how can I make this into a positive thought, right? How can I change my thinking or my perspective? So the positive thought will lead to a positive feeling, which will lead to a more positive action. So if the child has hit their brother, so instead of saying, I brought them up better than this, you can say, I wonder what happened. Well, I wonder what caused that. So so you're feeling curious, maybe a little concerned, like that's not normal behavior. Or you're a little worried. You might be a little upset or anxious too. So then the way you're going to behave is you're probably going to ask questions. You're going to explore options. You're going to discuss the situation, discuss the behavior. You're coming from a place of control and
Mm-hmm.
calmness. And what we say is, instead of joining your children's chaos, share your calm. Don't join their chaos.
Oh,
Share
that's a
their
good one.
calm.
That's a
It's
good
a great, right. And I always say too, before we correct, connect. So, you know, Kai Graham, who is a wonderful parenting coach, she wrote the Teen Toolbox, which we've done a workshop on. One of her 10 golden rules is that there's always a positive intention behind behavior. So if you can think, I wonder what that positive intention was, no matter what it is.
Can you
It's
give us an example? So if a child hits their sibling and we get
mhm.
curious, go, I wonder what, we get that nice curious, where's finding the positive intention in that? Help
The
me.
positive intention might be, you know what, mom or dad has been on their laptop all day, have not given me the time of day, so I want their attention, but I don't know how to ask how. But I know I get their attention if I hit my brother.
Oh, so their positive intention in terms of what they were trying to do was positive, but just the way they went about it
Was
wasn't
not
the right
positive.
way. So the idea is that when your child is doing something that is either not what you would consider normal, where you have that negative feeling of what is wrong with this child? Where did they learn this from? Why are
I
they
didn't
doing
teach
that?
them that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
just these are things I actually hear parents say. Like I've been guilty of this myself when I'm like, and it's one of the worst things I've learned that I should never say this is, what is wrong with you? Like,
Yes.
to teach a child that there's anything wrong with them, that's not really what I should have done. But these are the frustrations that come. So if we take that frustration, turn it to curiosity, and then instead of thinking that they were trying to do something bad, look
Hmm.
at what were they trying to
Yeah.
achieve? What was their what do you call it? What was their positive intention?
Positive intention.
Okay.
Because I always say, so often we frame children's behavior in the negative.
Yep.
Like, oh,
Yep.
that's attention seeking behavior.
Mhm.
Well, I challenge you to say, instead of attention seeking behavior, it's connection seeking behavior. They're seeking your connection, but they don't have the language, the brain development.
They're not as old as we are.
And even we as adults sometimes don't know how to do that in the proper way.
Oh, I completely
But
agree.
we expect these little kids with half a brain Their brains don't even finish developing until they're 12. I mean, they don't even get all their gray matter till they're 12.
What is gray matter and why is it important?
Well, gray matter is basically your brain.
Okay.
So their brain is continuing to grow
Okay.
until they're 12. So they're getting more and more brain cells.
Okay.
But then it takes another 12 to 15 years for all that gray matter, all those brain cells to finish developing.
Okay.
And the brain develops from the back to the front.
Uh-huh.
And the front part is the prefrontal cortex. That's where all the executive functioning is, which is just a fancy word for self-control,
All the
making
things we
decisions,
want. All
all
the
the things that make us adults, setting goals, thinking of consequences, all those things that make us act like adults, right?
and
But
where when did you say that
okay,
that gets developed? When
that's not finished developing until we're about 25.
oh my gosh.
Yes.
So
So,
expecting all this adult behavior from
right.
a human being that doesn't even have the brain capacity. It's not even if they're smart, if they don't even have the brain capacity. It's not finished being built.
Right. And
We're
so they're
expecting
really operating out of the back of their brain, which is what we call the reptilian brain. That's the primal brain. That's the survival brain. That's fight, flight, or freeze, right? That's what, as humans, we were designed to thrive and survive. And so that's the first part of the brain that develops so that if you're going to survive, you know, getting away from a saber-toothed tiger, you run,
yeah, you got that.
right?
Okay.
Or you fight so you can survive and thrive. But our brains really haven't caught up with all this technology, and so kids brains, it takes a while for them to develop, but we're putting them in situations where they're supposed to be using parts of their brain they can't even really access yet, and so
And
and
so
make those neuron connections. So it's fancy, neuroscience, but it's the truth. I mean, I think our expectations sometimes are unrealistic in what we expect our children to do. They're not little robots. They transition much slower. They shift gears much slower when they're going from one activity or mindset to another. And we need to give them that time and that space because their brains don't work as fast as ours. And children are very self-absorbed, very self-centered. They're supposed to be. That's how they learn about the world and about themselves. And usually any behavior is communication. When you think of an iceberg, for say, you think of what's showing above the water. It's just a tip,
yeah.
right? And so that's behavior. That's a symptom. So if you think of what's driving that behavior, what's underneath the water, and when you think about underneath that water surface,
Hmm.
that huge part of the iceberg, that's the unmet expectations, needs, wants, desires, what's driving that behavior. And so it's something as simple as they're hungry or they're angry, they're lonely, they're tired. We talk about
Oh,
halt.
hungry,
Yes.
angry, lonely,
Yeah.
tired. And I still, as an adult, I use that because I have mood swings like a 5-year-old. And I make jokes, but I mean this. I think somewhere in the back of my mind, I will forget to eat.
Mhm.
I will carry my anger and my resentment with me from one moment into the next. If I feel like I really got to get something done, I will work till 3 o'clock in the morning if I have ideas and I need to get stuff done, and I won't think about whether or not I'm tired,
Mhm.
or even like if I haven't seen anybody for obviously I live by myself with my dog and I love it, but that human interaction, being lonely, it's so easy. And that hungry, angry, lonely, or hungry,
Oh
angry,
yeah.
lonely, tired helps me so much. As an adult, I guess I have all that gray matter that I can actually, when I start to get grumpy, I can go, well,
Hmm.
Tara, when was the last time you ate? And then,
Mhm.
well, it was yesterday. Well, even if you don't feel hungry, try to have a little something. And I can work through all of those hungry, angry, lonely, tired things, and I can self-resolve. And children, in my opinion, if they're having fun, they do not care about eating food. If they do not want to go to bed at night, they do not care about being tired. They want to be up with you every second of the day. So I don't even, like you said, with the gray matter, so they don't even have the capacity to understand what it is that their bodies need. But I'm all about halt and all about recognizing that kids don't have the capacity to know what they need to do when they need to do it. You're on mute. I'm not sure. There you go.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
So basically, as parents, we need to like get curious and go, and cancel all that out. Like, when was the last time are you hungry? Or you look a little irritated, or you
Yes.
look a little sleepy, and and just help them and guide them,
Mm-hmm.
and connect with them first. Figure out what's going on. Get curious. Use that kind of lens. If we switch our lens in which we see our child, if we look at a child differently, we see a different child.
Oh
And
yeah.
so if we put on that lens of curiosity and wonder, and it makes us look at the child's behavior differently. Because
Mm-hmm.
children are, and even as adults, we don't communicate the best. And our children are no exception. They're learning how to communicate. They're learning how to use their language, and they don't have the words and the vocabulary and the ability to connect their emotions, their thoughts, their emotions to their feelings. So we need to help them do that, so
Okay.
that they learn to be responsible and and be accountable for their own actions, right?
Okay.
So when we're working with our kids, we need to first make sure we're coming from a place of control,
Okay.
and we need to take care of ourselves. And so what I like to think, before we can really do that, we need to first control our body,
So how do we
right?
do that?
Well, you first have to become aware of your body cues. Everyone has different body cues. Me, my heart starts racing and my ears feel red and hot. Some people clench their fists, some clench their jaw, some purse their lips, some people start getting a headache, some stomachs hurt, some people get
Oh.
sweaty palms.
So when you start getting, all right, so when something disturbing happens to you, because as you're describing this,
Mhm.
so usually what's happening is something disturbing happens, whether it's your child or any situation, you're disturbed and your body will show symptoms of your
Absolutely.
disturbance. So,
It's kind of like, hey, pay attention to me, red flag. You're getting upset.
and
And
I'm
so
ignoring it.
right, and we ignore it, because so many
Uh-huh.
people say, I just have a hairline temper. I go from 0 to 10, but no, your body's giving you clues. You just need to learn to become aware of them.
All right, let me write this down. So when our child or children do something, we need to realize that we need to control our thoughts, and we need to become curious about why they're doing what they're doing. And before we can correct that behavior, we need to really work on connecting. And
Yes.
before we can connect with our kids, we need to take control of our bodies and start paying attention to the cues of,
Hmm.
of how we can identify we're being upset. So for me, I just start to I,
Yeah, some people hold their breath. Yeah, some people,
is that what I did?
and
I
you get
don't know.
all
I just,
tense.
you're on, I think you're on mute again. I'm not sure. I can't hear you. It sounds like sign language.
Sorry,
There
my
you go.
computer. Okay. Yeah, so it's important, and it's going to look different in different people,
Yeah.
but to first become aware of that. So once you become aware of that, then you can do something to calm your body.
Okay. So
Okay. And then, yeah, so in SNAP, this is the S in SNAP. These are our stops.
oh, yes. I remember now.
Okay.
Yes.
These are the things that are going to calm our body, because before we can do anything else, we've got to calm our heart rate, calm our body. And so and those can be things like literally taking a big deep breath, counting to 10, walking away, taking a drink of water. If you're sitting, stand up. If you're standing, sit down, change your body direction. If you're feeling like you're going to smack them, put your hands in your pocket or fold your arms, do
Yeah.
something to calm your actual body.
Okay.
Because the thing is, if our hearts are racing, we're losing oxygen to our brain, so we can't think clearly.
Okay.
And so literally taking deep breaths will lower your heart rate and calm your breathing, calm your heart rate, and the oxygen can go back to your brain,
Yeah.
so you can use it.
Okay.
Okay. So, because what happens is, it's kind of like, have you heard the saying, oh my God, I flipped my lid?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So if you think of your brain, this is your brain. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the reptilian part of our brain, my thumb,
Yes.
okay?
Got it. Okay.
This is fight, flight, or freeze, okay?
Got it.
It's here. And the other 4 parts of my brain, which I'm not going to go into, keep that under control, okay?
Okay.
So what happens is if we don't pay attention to our body cues and we get our heart rate goes up and we start hyperventilating, we get angry and all emotional, we literally flip our lid, because what happens is those 4 parts of the brain stop working when the amygdala, or the reptilian part of the brain, is activated. It's like, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to run. I can't handle this. I'm out of here. You know, whatever it is. So we literally flip our lid. So we got to keep our parent from a place of control, so we don't let our survival brain take over, which is the fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
So we want to be able to access the parts of our brain that can reason and think of plans and outcomes and think rationally.
Okay.
So we have to calm our body first, and then we can calm our brain. You know, challenge those hard thoughts, those negative thoughts when I talked about the CBT triangle.
Yeah.
And really challenge those, because so often we say things like, oh my God, they never listen. They are always fighting. So when we use words like always and never, when we're overgeneralizing, that's not realistic, because you know what? Sometimes they do listen and sometimes they do get along. So that's not really realistic.
Okay.
And it's not going to make you feel better.
So stop telling yourself a false narrative and stop being or not stop, but try to recognize when you're being over dramatic, and try to recognize if you're being 100% accurate, or if you're maybe being 50% accurate. You're on mute again, I think.
Keeps doing this. I apologize.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. So once we've gotten control of ourselves and we've kind of taken some deep breaths, we've taken back, we then have the capacity to think more logically and to actually kind of move things forward. So then what do we do?
So then we're going to challenge those hard thoughts, like, oh my gosh, I didn't bring them up this way. They know better than that. I'm going to kill them. I did not sign up for this. I'm out of here. You know, these aren't helpful. They're not going to make you feel any better. Remember, what we think affects how we feel. So that's when we have to really challenge those thoughts.
Okay.
Those hard thoughts with what we call cool thoughts. And a cool thought is helpful and realistic. So I'll give some examples. And it's really important as a parent that you find your mantra. What helps you? It's going to be different for different people. One that really helps me is, this is only temporary. Some people like to use, this too shall pass. Another good one is, you know what? I'm the adult. I can handle this. Or I can stay in control. Or, you know what? This is tough, but so am I. You know, something that that's going to make you feel better. So if I'm saying things like, you know what, this is really tough, but you know what, so am I. This is just temporary. You know, maybe something happened. I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Then I'm feeling differently. I'm feeling a little more calm. I'm feeling, you know, curious. I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling like it's manageable.
You're bringing your frustration level down as well, because even as I was listening to you talk, I could feel my own self saying, when I get angry, or when I think something's not impossible, when I don't think someone will change their behavior, I just go, they're always like this. And I don't challenge those thoughts. In fact, I have a really great boss, and he's actually usually the one to challenge me to go, no, really, how often does that really happen? So I'm lucky to have somebody in my life that will remind me when we're talking about business. But it's important to take those really negative, untrue, unfact,
unrealistic.
they make you feel bad, and they keep you angry. And you know what they do? They keep you angry. And I almost think I'm a little addicted to going to that place where I always know I go. Even if I don't like it, I feel like it's my comfort zone. So I have to challenge those hard thoughts, get them to at least a more neutral, like, you know what? This has happened before, but you know what? We've gotten through it, and we can get through this.
There you go. That's a beautiful, cool thought. Okay. Whatever works for you in that moment. You know, another one is, you know what? I don't want to make my problem bigger.
Oh yeah, they teach the kids you want to make what
I
you
want to keep I know I make my problems small. So,
yeah.
and if I yell at my kids and I'm threatening them and I'm saying you're going to lose this and you're going to do that, no one wins. They're upset, I'm upset. Then I've got to console an upset child on top of that. Then I feel bad as a parent. It's a lose-lose.
Got it.
So, and this is part of parenting from a place of control. And if you need to step outside for a minute or two and take some deep breaths and collect yourself, reset yourself,
Yes.
it's like you can say, I'll be with you in one moment, and then come back. You can delay it. You don't have to do it in the moment.
Okay.
But if you need to take a moment to, take your own time out, right?
Yes.
I mean, timeout's not just for kids. Timeout's very important too for adults. Like, we need time out to recenter ourselves and get our composure and take those deep breaths and think of some cool thoughts so that we can come up with a good plan.
Okay.
And that's the third part. So once we've calmed our bodies, we've challenged those hard thoughts with some cool thoughts, we're thinking positive thoughts, we're feeling more positive, then we can come up with a positive action, a positive plan. Okay. Now there's 3 criteria for a good plan.
Yes.
And that is a good plan keeps your problems small.
Okay.
Doesn't make it bigger. It doesn't hurt anyone or anything, including yourself.
When you say it doesn't hurt anyone or anything, a lot of times parents, I know when I've been helping to, like, anytime I have a child, I feel like that's my time to raise them. So a lot of times I've in the past found myself jump to what their immediate punishment is going to be. So when you say doesn't hurt them or doesn't hurt anybody, are you talking about like physically, or how do you mean doesn't hurt somebody?
It could be physically, emotionally. It could, we don't want to say anything like, what was it?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Yeah. We don't want to shame them.
Okay.
Because we want to always separate the child from the behavior.
Got it.
All our children are good, but they sometimes make bad choices or poor choices. So we want to always separate the child from the behavior.
Okay.
Not say, okay, that's really important. It's tweaking our language. Language is very powerful.
Yes.
And instead of saying you were a bad boy or a bad girl, we say, well, you know what? I really am proud of the choices that you made. You made a smart choice there. That was hard, but you did the hard thing and you made a good choice where you didn't hurt anyone, or, you didn't make your problem bigger. It didn't hurt anyone. And so, from when you think of a plan, and then the third part is that both parties are going to feel okay about it. It's not like you're the winner and they're the loser. No,
I think we
both.
do. I think that's where I'm kind of ashamed to say this, but I think that really open conversation is so important, because I think if you're open with what you're realistically doing, then you can address it. You can actually resolve it. So while I'm embarrassed to say this, I've caught myself a time or two where it's like, I'm going to show that child who's boss. I'm going to make sure that they never think that they can get away with this ever again. And it's really, as I'm saying it out loud, I'm wondering, was my goal to change their behavior, or was it to punish them so hard that they would never dare do it again? Because when I was growing up, it was a different time. You wouldn't dream of doing something if your parents told you not to do it. And now it's kind of, it feels different. And I think we often compare how maybe we were disciplined when we were kids to how we're disciplining our own kids. And so I do think it's embarrassing, but I think sometimes I have to ask myself, am I really punishing? Am I trying to teach this child, or am I trying to punish them, like just to hurt them? And you're on mute again, just to let you know. There you go.
Basically, discipline is very different than punishment. And discipline is to guide and to teach. It comes from the root word, Latin word discipulus, which is like pupil. You think if Jesus had his disciples, our children are kind of like our disciples. Punishment is a penalty. And so discipline focuses on the behavior, where punishment focuses on the person. And so, in this journey of life, we want our children to handle problems in an effective, positive way, not in a violent or negative way. And so we don't, we want to teach what we preach, right? And if and at FRC, we are a nonviolent center because we also deal with a lot with domestic violence and child abuse. And so we come from the place where, you know, it's kind of like, how do you spank your child without hitting them, right? And hitting is a form of violence. And so we want to stay away from that, or make it a last resort, because, as an adult, if we hit another adult, we can get charged with assault.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when we say,
Yeah.
oh, I don't, I'm disciplining my child, well, they can't hit back. They can't defend themselves, and they're littler than you and not as developed. They don't have all the gray matter, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Or when the parent, they're hitting each other, the brother and sister are hitting each other, and then the parent comes up and says, and grabs you and goes, "Don't you hit your brother." And they're just like, what? It's very contradictory.
It's like, well, wait a minute. You're saying not to hit my sibling, but you're hitting me, or you're telling me about my attitude about yelling, but you're always yelling. So really what's happening is these kids can possibly be absorbing. You said in the very beginning, when you first joined us, you said we are our children's first teacher.
Absolutely. So if we don't want our kids to yell, we don't yell. If we don't want our kids to hit, we don't hit. If we want our kids to use their words and be respectful, we use our words and we be respectful. We have to model what we want them, because they're looking at us, they're watching our every move. They are like little sponges, and then they're like little parrots. And so often as parents, we get triggered when a child does something to us that we don't like, that we see in ourselves.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Especially sarcasm, or,
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Kids don't get sarcasm. It doesn't work, especially the younger ones. But so if we want to, we're all dealing with a lot of stress, anxiety, homeschooling, we're working remotely, we can't get out of the house, we're stuck in this together. So how can we, if our kids see, oh, mom's taking a break or dad's taking a break, and they're taking some deep breaths and they're getting in control of themselves, the child is going to learn to do that too.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's
So
that simple.
that's perfect. So if the child sees us taking a deep breath, or taking a quick little stretch our legs walk, or doing a little bit of, flexibility or yoga, or any kind of thing that's healthy for us.
Right. Any self-care.
Yeah, they're going to want to do it too, because they're also going to want to mimic us. Like you said, they parrot. So they watch us and then they do it. Okay. So in the planning part where you're talking about, you said you want to keep the problem small.
Keep it small.
You said you want to find a solution that doesn't hurt people, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally, or verbally. So you want to try to keep all those nice, cool thoughts. You're looking to minimize the problem. And there was a third thing that you said, and
yes. And the third one is that both parties feel okay. It's not that one feels like a winner and one feels like a loser.
Yeah. So everybody feels good at the end of the interaction. Or
they may not feel great, but they feel okay.
Okay, yes. They feel okay. So
yes.
It's not like we're looking for everybody to walk away with ice cream cones and sprinkles, but we're looking for people to walk away feeling safe and understanding what the behavior and the action and what needs to happen going forward.
Right.
So just okay. All right. That sounds like a nice, achievable goal, I think. Okay.
And it's easy to remember. So often, especially now when we're tired, we're not coping as well.
Yeah.
And so our patience is smaller. We tend to be a little more irritable.
We're not sleeping properly to begin with. I know a lot of parents are telling me that they're waking up. I've only noticed this with women though. So I haven't spoken to any guys. I'd be curious to know if any men out in the community are having this, but I've spoken to a lot of women, and they all have a couple things in common. They work really hard. They're great parents. They're just wonderful people all around. But I'm noticing that they're waking up at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and they can't go back to sleep. And
the brains are going. They're just going. And there's worry. There's uncertainty. And see, in these times, these are times of uncertainty. We don't have the answers. our government doesn't have the answers, you know, with this COVID-19. When are we going back to work? When are we going back to school? When are we opening up the borders? When are we don't know. There's so much uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds anxiety.
Oh, is that what this is? Okay.
Yes.
All right. It's
So
anxiety. Got it.
yes, because what it is, we always feel safe and secure when we know what to expect.
Yes, and that's why kids like routine, because they
Exactly.
function better in routine. If they know this is going to happen, then that's going to happen. I always find
Right.
routine is like a safety. It feels like a warm, snuggly blanket. So we don't
Well,
have.
it is.
Okay.
Well, and we as adults don't have it, and now we have a lot more dumped on us because not only are we working from home, we're having to be teachers now and homeschool and take care
Yeah,
of everything.
I
It's a lot. You're wearing all these different hats. You have all these different irons in the fire, and we're feeling scattered and disjointed and discombobulated. So you
mhm.
imagine what our kids feel like. Home is a place of security and safety and nurturing and love, you know, for and where you could be yourself. And now it's suddenly a classroom, and we're stuck in here. We can't leave.
And
My
everyone's
parents
been
are
frustrated
my
together.
parents are here, but they're not available.
Yes,
It's
that's
very confusing. And so we're seeing children's behavior regress. We're seeing more sibling rivalry, but
yeah,
then also the siblings are learning, hey, this is my only playmate. I got to learn to get along with them, or I don't have anyone to play with.
yeah,
So, you know, and they'll figure it out. But, you know, it's just times like these that we just take a step back, take a deep breath, you know, go through those steps and calm your body, calm your brain, and then come up with a plan. Like, you know, okay, I'm going to go and talk to each one separately, not together, and get the information, you know,
yeah.
because you might find out a lot. And a lot of times, like I said, there's a positive intention behind the behavior. Hey, they might have just been trying to get their brother's attention because their brother's been ignoring them because they've been playing on the
Many
PS4
video
all
games.
day.
I would say too many video games.
Yeah.
Question.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother session.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so you stop now and you plan, you neutralize those negative thoughts, and you
mhm,
try to get curious about your child. And when you go in, once you kind of create that, trying to understand, and this is actually what I think you and the S.N.A.P program were able to help me with my little sibling. He's 11 now, but he was about 8 or 9 at the time.
yeah.
Um, with understanding was the minute my brother would have a challenge at school, immediately, and I didn't know this until I started working with you guys, I would go back to my own childhood and
Mhm,
think, well, I didn't do that, and you can't afford to do that because you have a different set of circumstances, and you can't be the child that everyone thinks is the trouble. And I would automatically go to this very negative place. And what you all taught me with getting curious was also trying to be empathetic and trying to understand how that little person must be feeling. So like when
mm,
he would come home and say maybe he had a challenge at school where it needed to be attended to, and so the teachers would tell me, you all gave me a tool which I never even knew was possible, that I would even be capable of, is understanding how awful it must be if you have a toy that you see that you want to have, but it's not your toy, and so you just want to play with it for a little bit, and how
mhm,
devastating that must feel to have someone tell you that you can't play with that toy. As an adult, I don't even think about that. I sit there and go, that's not your toy, and you shouldn't have taken it, and blah, 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 and da, 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 da. But you guys gave me the capacity to stop and think about why that child was doing what they were doing, and also how they were feeling. Just being
mhm.
able to, what is it called? Empathize?
It's called empathy.
Yeah,
It's empathizing, because empathy is very different from sympathy, right?
yeah,
Empathy is feeling with someone, where sympathy is feeling for, like, you're feeling sorry for someone.
yeah,
So empathy is that, you know, putting yourself in their shoes and honoring and validating those feelings. You know, we all are entitled to our feelings. There is not one feeling that we're not entitled to, but not all behavior is okay.
yes,
It's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hit. It's
exactly.
okay to it's okay to be, you know, sad that you can't have this toy, but it's not okay to steal
Yeah,
or take without asking. So we want to separate that emotion from the behavior. Like, every emotion's okay. And
yeah,
we need our kids to learn that, hey, these emotions are temporary. They're going to pass. They're going to come and go. We
Hmm.
got to help them learn to process them instead of just snatch it away from them.
And getting
And then,
stuck on a loop with the same
yes.
bad behaviors and bad responses. So when we're planning to have everything be okay,
Well,
um,
we go into fix
yeah,
it mode.
yeah, which is what I used to do. I automatically just wanted to fix
Mhm.
the problem. You did this wrong. This is how we fix it. Don't ever do this again, and let's move on.
Yeah, it's like
That
I
doesn't
got to make sure you're a good human being, so we got to do. We work on solutions instead of. And the thing is, so often when you empathize with the child and you just honor their feeling and validate, like, boy, you look really upset. What happened? Well, so and so pushed me out of the way, and I was there first. Like, oh, I bet that was upsetting because that didn't seem fair. Yeah, I bet. And just align yourself with the child
Mhm.
and just kind of play back what they tell you. It's called reflective listening, because then they feel heard, like, oh, mom gets me, dad gets me. If they say, I had one little boy that had a lot of what we call cognitive distortions. He'll say a lot of things about himself that were very negative,
Mhm.
and if he would say something like, I'm so stupid, and instead of saying, no, you're not stupid, because if you did that, he'd get more angry. Instead, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry you feel that way. That must not feel good to think that you're stupid. I know it does. And it would totally de-escalate him.
But if you told him, but hold on. So if you told a child who said that, and you said, "No, you're not stupid," then that just
Well,
makes it worse because then they're busy trying to prove that they know
you're,
themselves better than you know them.
yeah, you're arguing with them.
Yeah,
You're trying to change how they feel.
I didn't even think about it.
You're telling them that the way they're feeling is wrong.
I didn't even think about how.
And the way they're feeling is always okay. Now, their behavior may not be okay. Remember, feelings
Yes. So feelings are
influence
separate.
their
It's you're
actions. Yes.
entitled to feel it, but your feelings don't entitle you to hurt another person or steal or do something behaviorally wrong. And you're back on mute again. Just to give you a heads up. There we go. Okay. Getting better at looking at this mute symbol.
Well, my laptop keeps doing this, so
Oh,
I had to just keep, my
oh, I can,
speakers go out, then I go mute, and then,
no worries. I see
so,
it going up, so I can warn you. Okay, so if we've stopped, cooled down our thoughts, we've created some connections, and
mhm.
we're trying to plan to get through that situation with everybody being okay. How do we, once we've done that, how do we then decide whether it needs a consequence, or how do we close that experience off, or as we deal with those
Mhm.
things?
Yeah. That's where when the plan comes in, there should already be some things in place as far as behavior expectations.
Okay.
And so that's, when you think about it at work, we have staff meetings,
We have a
and
contract.
yeah, yeah. And now that but in the families, we don't do that. We don't have like family meetings
Okay.
and we don't discuss, what we expect behaviorally and what those consequences are. If, you there's a positive consequence when you follow the rule, and there's a negative consequence when you don't follow the rule. So
Mhm.
in this family, we value, and I always like to connect it to a value. So for
Okay.
instance, and you do it collaboratively with everyone. It's not something you do to a child, it's something you do with the children in a
Yeah.
family meeting. Everyone has a voice. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm at work and a new policy comes down that affects me directly and they didn't even ask me about it, I'm like, what am I, chopped liver?
I'm like, wait, excuse me? Yeah.
Excuse me, I
Yeah,
don't, I have a say in this. This affects me.
or don't
Well,
I
kids
like,
are no
yeah,
different.
they are? Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Kids are people too, and they want a voice. They want to feel honored and respected, and like they have a voice. I mean, so much of everything is decided for them: where they live, where they sleep, what they eat, what they wear, where they go. They
Mhm.
have very little personal power. So, and if you have them included in this meeting
Mhm.
and everyone's discussing it, then you're going to have that buy-in.
Okay.
Because it's like at work, if they're like, okay, we're thinking we have this issue, we have this problem, and we need to solve it, and we'd like everyone's input, and everyone agrees on a mutually agreeable solution that addresses the concerns, well, then and it's realistic, then you've got that buy-in. It's no different with kids. And
Okay.
so it needs to be a collaborative process.
Okay. Family
uh,
meetings can do that. So basically start families, take 10 minutes, sit down, and
Yeah,
at the beginning of
doesn't
the day,
have to be formal. Have a,
yeah,
pop some popcorn, sit around the dining room table
yeah,
or wherever you can on the floor, make it a picnic, whatever you want to do. And
okay,
just say, hey, I noticed some things aren't working really well here. We got a lot of fighting going on, a lot of hitting, and in this family, we just don't want that to continue. So, we want to, in this family, we value uh, treating each other with respect, and hitting is not respectful. So the rule is like no hitting, but then that's a stop language, but then you want to put it in start language. So we keep our hands and feet to ourselves, no hitting. And the positive consequence is, well, we feel respected, we feel safe, we get to do things that we want to do, right? The negative consequence could be, and this is where everyone talks about, it could be immediate timeout or immediate privilege removal, a work chore, something that there's buy-in, but there's got to be, we talk about effective consequencing and effective directions in S.N.A.P, and those are very good tools. But I always think it's important that the kids need to understand what those rules are and what the consequences are. And then as a parent, you need to be consistent. You need to have them up on the refrigerator somewhere where you can see them, and like no more than 3. It can be like around hitting, it could be around yelling, it could be around um, lying or something,
yeah.
whatever you're having trouble with.
So
But
pick
I would,
3 things, but no more than 3 things, because you don't want to
yeah,
inundate you don't want to end up being like some like Nazi-like person constantly going around
well, yeah.
and going on the
It's like
attack.
when you go to a public pool, you
Mhm.
know, no running, no diving, no splashing, no hit,
It's like, why are
you're
we
like,
at
well, what can I do?
yeah,
Right?
why are we at the pool? We can't do anything. We can just stand
Exactly. You're just sitting in the pool like this, right?
yeah.
So we want our kids to feel like they, again, when they know what to expect, they feel safe.
Hmm.
They know today, if I jump on the bed, it's still wrong if I do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
If today we're just like, oh, just let it go, let them jump on the bed. Who cares?
Which I do think sometimes happens. I think we get frustrated and we just like give up and go, you know what? I don't even care
Yeah.
right now. But those are
Right.
the moments where we need to care the most, because if we don't have that consistency, then
Yes.
they're going to push the limits the next day. And maybe the next day you will enforce the consequences. And then maybe the next day you won't. And it's sending mixed messages.
It's
Because
very confusing to the
what's
child,
that
and the child,
relationship?
yeah,
Like, I
and
don't
the
know what.
child learns what creates anxiety in the child, because they don't know if it's going to be okay today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
And also, it's going to make them constantly test the boundaries, because they're like, is it okay today? Is it okay today? But
Yeah.
if you're consistent, then your word is golden. You do not want your word to be garbage. You want your word to be golden. And so in order to do that,
Don't
you
like
have
that.
to,
Say that again. Wait a minute. Hold on. I've heard you say that before and I
yeah,
forgot it, and I love it. Say it again. You don't want your words to be garbage. You want them
you
to be
want them to be golden.
all
You
right.
need to say what you mean and mean what you say.
So my words need to be golden, not garbage.
Right. So if you say something, and this is another thing, is don't threaten a consequence. Just do it. Because if you have those house rules at family meeting, if they hit their brother, that's immediate timeout or immediate privilege removal. Because it's okay to be angry at your brother, but it's not okay to hit. What can you do instead?
And you already told them about what the consequences were. So
Right.
you need to say, if you keep hitting him, you're going to go into timeout. You already got, you had your popcorn, you had your calm sit down family meeting.
Yeah.
Then when the child goes and does it, you don't need to be like, you're hitting your brother. And I told you that if you hit your brother, this is da 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 da. You just stop what you're doing and put them in timeout, and then that's it.
Well, because if we just make threats
Yeah.
and never follow through, then our kids learn to make threats and never follow through. They learn, well, I can blame someone else for my behavior, or I don't have to be responsible for my behavior. And we want our kids to learn that behavior is a choice,
Mm-hmm.
and that they have to take responsibility for their own behavior. They can't blame it on someone else. Well, so and so made me mad. Well, that's okay. I bet that was mad, but it's not okay to hit.
So,
You're in control of yourself. The only person we can control is ourselves. We can't control another human being. The one thing we can control is our response.
okay.
There's a great formula from the Teen Toolbox called E plus R equals O.
E plus R equals O.
Yes, and E is the event.
Okay.
R is your response.
Okay.
O is the outcome.
Oh, okay. So the event is the situation. So whatever the event is, plus
Mm-hmm.
whatever my response or however I react to the situation
Mm-hmm.
is going to determine the outcome. So that's E plus R equals O. Okay.
Right. And so it's not going to guarantee the outcome, but at the end of the day, if you've used, think about the CBT triangle, and
Yeah.
you've responded in a positive way.
Hmm.
You may not have gotten the outcome you wanted, but at the end of the day, you will feel better about yourself as a parent, as a human being.
Hmm.
Like, you know what? I responded in a way that I was proud of, and I could respect myself. I didn't yell and scream and curse and hit and throw and I responded in a way that I could be proud of.
Oh, there was an exercise, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was, and I know that the SNAP program is usually, what is it, 6 to 8 weeks long?
Oh, the SNAP, it's 13.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't remember. Okay, so it's 13 weeks long. It's
Hmm.
usually, I think, once or twice a week, right?
It's once a week.
Once a week. Okay.
Yeah.
And there was
Hmm.
this there, and you give the parents homework, and you also give the children homework, but you don't call it homework for the
No,
kids. What's it called again?
we don't call it homework. We call it home practice.
Yes, but there was another fun, like there was a fun thing we
Oh, their code mission.
code mission. Yes, I was like, yes,
Code
code
mission.
mission.
Yeah.
So one of the homework assignments for the adults was, I think it was for like a day or maybe a week, was to write down every time your child did listen.
Yes.
Um, and I was very surprised. So like you had to, it really forced me as an adult to, when I would give an instruction and just say it once, and then
Hmm.
just write down, did they listen that first time or not listen that first time? And it was amazing because then you actually see how much your child really does listen, but you or I wasn't necessarily paying attention. And I was taking for granted all the times that they were listening and doing what I was asking them to do. And I
Hmm.
wasn't ever really consciously becoming aware of that and saying, hey, thank you so much for taking care of that, or thank you so much for listening, so that I could reinforce that with some positive like
Well,
just
that's the
love.
lens again. It's like all we, as parents, we tend to only focus on the negative, what they're doing wrong,
Yeah.
and we don't catch them being good. And all the research, all the evidence has shown over the last 30 years that praising positive behavior is more effective than consequencing negative behavior.
Hmm.
And so, a really good parenting tool is planned ignoring. If they're not hurting anyone or anything, if they're whining for a cookie and hey, they've had dinner, they're not hungry, they had their dessert,
They
we're
don't
not
need a
going to,
cookie.
they don't need another cookie or whatever, or it's before dinner and they can't have a
Yeah.
cookie before dinner, whatever.
Yeah.
You can just ignore it. But then as soon as they stop whining and start talking in an appropriate voice, then you give that attention.
Yeah.
Because it's not that so many parents like, well, I've got to call them out when they do something wrong. I'm like, yeah, but how many times you call them out when they do something right?
Yeah.
I
That's
mean, think about your boss when you're at work. If you're coming to work every day, you're doing all your work. You don't take long lunch breaks. You don't leave early. You're just a model employee. You're doing everything you should be doing.
every employee thinks that about themselves, but go ahead.
But no, but what I'm saying, you're doing everything you should be doing,
Yeah.
okay? But you've got a colleague who comes in late, takes extra lunch breaks, takes extra breaks, leaves early, and it seems like nothing ever happens to him. And then this one time, you're late for work because your car broke down, something you
Or
can't control.
something happened, and all.
Something happens out of your control, and you're late, and you come in and you get read the riot act.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the point of coming on time? You don't notice it when I come in time, or even early. The only time you notice is when I mess up.
I think for me right now in particular, maybe a couple of years ago, I could have related to that. I have one of the best bosses like
Yeah.
ever. So it's really hard. Like I'm trying to imagine my boss doing this. My boss is
Maybe
really,
think of an older boss,
yeah,
a previous boss.
yeah. I do want to just give a positive shout out to, like, if you have people that are positive and happy and healthy in your life, that they really need to have, to be recognized, or they need to be reached out to. Like you're one of those
Mhm.
positive people for me. I know that you don't have a perfect life, although I think almost every time I don't think I've ever seen you respond badly. You always
Oh,
come from a place of caring, compassion, and love and kindness. And I think having positive people like you in my life is it's a blessing. So,
Thank you.
but going to when people, you're right, when people feel like they're doing everything right, or they're trying their very best to impress somebody, or they're going above and beyond on a daily basis, and they only ever get attention when something goes wrong,
Yeah.
it's very, I think, disheartening, and it can be very demotivating. It can depress you. Like
Mhm.
as an adult, if I think back to younger years, when there was somebody that I really cared about, that I really wanted to impress, and I wanted them to know how dedicated I was to whatever it was they were asking me to do,
Mhm.
the minute they were unhappy with me and I didn't feel that positive reinforcement, it would end up causing me to feel sad or depressed, or like or like I'm no good, or like
Oh, why bother?
yeah, like, or no, I would just sit there and go, well, no matter what I do, it's not good enough, so maybe I don't want to be here. And
So I'm not good enough,
value,
right? So they
yeah,
and kids internalize that, right? And so it's so
yeah.
important to catch them being good, and even when they should be doing something, praise it, and or just say, encourage it, like, hey, thanks a lot for picking up your book bag. I appreciate that, so I don't trip over it in the middle of the night.
That's a good one. Like I do hear parents sometimes saying, "Oh, thank you for doing this," and I
Hmm.
in my other head, I sit there and go, why are you thanking your child for picking up after themselves? They should do that. But what I do like about what you said was it wasn't just thanking the child for picking up the backpack. It was, hey, I appreciate you doing this, because then it makes it safe to walk around the floor, and it really just, and nobody's going to trip over it. So I really just appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I like the benefits. I like
Hmm.
linking the benefit to the action. I think that that's awesome.
Well, it is, because otherwise it's like empty praise,
Yeah, it feels that way too.
right?
I like
Yeah.
the
And
connection.
we don't want our kids to become praise junkies, right? But
Yeah, like where they think they wake up and they just have won the world. Yes, I agree. We
yeah,
don't want that.
so, but we want our children for that to come intrinsically. They want to do the right thing when no one's watching, right? And
Yes.
because as parents we can't be there all the time,
Well, that's
and they're going to have to make choices
yes.
when we're not there.
Well, they
And
make
so,
choices every day. Well, but I think the main difference for a lot of parents right now, that they are discovering parts of their children they never knew, was you used to send your kid off to school for however many hours a day. So you just heard the
mhm,
stories, and then what you most people would do is reconcile the stories they were told by other people with what your experiences as a parent at home. And if it didn't match what your child would do at home, then you'd be like, nah, that doesn't happen. But now that
oh
our
yeah.
kids are at home, we get to see them in such a very special way that allows us to get to know our kids even better. I
Hmm.
do want to, so when we talk to our kids, we want our words to be golden, not garbage. We want
Hmm.
to remember the E plus R equals O, which is the event plus whatever the event is that I'm in at the moment, and my response to that event is going to influence or impact the immediate outcome of that.
Right.
And then when we talk to our kids, try to get curious and try
Hmm.
to see where their positive intention was, and that their feelings are totally okay to have, but we want to separate their feelings from their actions.
Right.
And when we're planning, we want to make sure in the end, everyone ends up quote unquote okay.
Right.
Now, I do want to say that I hope that if this even helps one parent, I know I feel like it's helping me, because even how I might interact with family members over the phone, or in future
Hmm.
interactions, remote distance, social distance, of course, um, it's going to help me be more thoughtful, because I think especially right now we're hearing a lot of things from another person's perspective, and
Hmm.
it can be exhausting, or it can be scary, or it can be a lot of different feelings when we're listening to other people, and that can then in turn build resentments and build frustrations. So I really like this, even for whether it's kids or for your spouse. Now, a lot of places, I don't think everybody, whoever's going to watch this, might be in a different space. If I were to watch this today and I was an angry parent and I had just blown up at my kid, my attitude could very well be, you know what? These women, they're sitting in their homes. They don't know what they're talking about. She doesn't even have a child. She's talking about her little brother. So I might be the type of person to be like, I'm not watching this. But then maybe the next day or a week later, I might come back to this video, and maybe I'm in a different mental space, because I do think your mental space or your perception changes each day. What are some resources that if we're struggling or if we're having a challenging time, whether it's as a mom or a dad or anybody, the Family Resource Center really does have a lot of great resources. What are some contacts or resources that we could share with anybody watching this today that might need help?
Yes. Well, despite COVID-19, we are all still working remotely from home. We're doing telehealth services. We're doing individual parenting. We're doing intakes for new clients. So if you're struggling as a parent and you need help, call 949-0006 and we'll get you started, get that ball rolling. We do case management. We do parenting webinars. We're doing a really good webinar next week, April 22nd on Wednesday.
All right,
at
so Wednesday, April 22nd.
At 3:30. We're doing balancing working remotely and homeschooling your child.
Oh, that is one for everybody. Oh,
I know.
oh my gosh. Okay, so
Yes.
how do people find this? Okay, so if this is on, all right, so everybody, whether you're watching it now or before Wednesday, so Wednesday, this is this coming Wednesday in the week to come.
The 22nd,
The
yeah.
22nd at 3:30 p.m. The Family Resource Center is basically doing balancing working from home and homeschooling at the same time.
Yes. And it will be recorded so that people
Yeah.
can go back and watch it. You can register, it'll be on our Facebook page. It'll also be on our website, frc.gov.ky.
I will post that in the links of this video. When we're done with this video, I will post all these resources, all these meetings.
Good.
So if somebody wants to contact the FRC, which is the Family Resource Center, to talk about the resources, to talk about potentially becoming a new patient, the phone number is 949-0006.
Yes.
And how much does all this cost?
It's free. It's all free.
Okay, so
you don't need to have insurance. Insurance, it's all free. It doesn't matter. As long as you are a resident of the Cayman Islands, all our services are free.
Is this a COVID-19 special that you're just telling us it's free for right now?
No, it's free all the time.
So it's free all the time. So what's
yes, all our programs. We finished our co-parenting workshop and our positive discipline workshop over Zoom conference with our with our clients. We also have a lot of parenting resources on our website under the resources tab.
Okay, so all right, so this is on the website, right?
Yes, frc.gov.ky.
Okay.
And if you go to the resources tab, and then go to parenting resources, we're listing a lot of resources there as well.
I will find those links. I'll put that up. And then I also know that I think when we talk about mental health and mental wellness, people can be in all sorts of different modes. Like I thought I was being perfect for like a week, and then I don't know what happened. One day I just was like, everything's wrong and everything's broken. So when we're having those really rough moments, maybe we don't have kids at home, or maybe we're just having a really rough patch. Is there a mental wellness number, like a 1-800 number?
There is. There's the new mental health helpline. It's an 800 number. Even if you don't have credit, you can call and stay on the line and they will pick up. It's 1-800-534-6463 and it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And we have, it's not a hotline. It's basically if you need someone to talk to, maybe you're having an anxiety attack, you need someone to help you do some box breathing or, get some perspective,
So you can actually have a conversation. So it's,
it's a live person.
So when you say it's not a hotline, what's the difference between a hotline and what this particular service is?
A helpline is going to help you through something, where a hotline is maybe if you're in crisis and you need, immediate assistance. It's just, it's not a crisis line, it's a helpline.
Okay.
So if you're struggling, you need someone to talk to, you need some advice, give us a call.
It's not like, so for the mental health and wellness phone number, it's not like you need to keep calling them every single day to talk about the same problem. It could literally be, there is a situation right now, and you have forgotten all of your S.N.A.P techniques. Your brain went blank. The one number you can remember is 1-800-534-6463. You can give them a call and they can help you in that particular moment. But if you recognize that you're having some ongoing issues, and maybe you want to look more into the SNAP options, you want to look into some better parenting, or not even better, just how, because
Well,
I like what you said as a parent, no matter, your children are all grown, and it's always about trying to become a better human being, or make improvements for the better of yourself and for your family, because you're putting on your oxygen mask all the time.
right,
They can call you at 949-0006, and
right.
they can look at your classes because you have a website, which I'll post the links. And then
Mhm.
next week on the 22nd, you said,
Yes,
on
ma'am. Mhm.
Wednesday, is it like a Zoom chat, or do they just go over to your Facebook page? How do they get into this chat room?
We're gonna post something probably no later than Monday, but it's going to be a webinar where you can go to our Facebook page and you can register for it,
Okay.
and it's with the same title. And yeah, basically just watch it, and we can talk to you afterwards. We could, you can call us and we could get the ball rolling. But, if regarding the mental health helpline too,
Yeah.
they can also help you, if you need counseling, during this
Yeah.
time, you might need some help. You might need some talk therapy to talk through some of this anxiety you're having, and,
Mhm.
and, and, and learn some coping skills. And, our counseling, the counseling center, which is our sister agency,
Yeah.
you can call them too. They're doing telehealth services. They're doing new intakes, for new clients, and it's free too, free counseling. And that number is 949-8789. But
Okay.
even, yeah, that's the counseling center. And again, they're free. We're both part of the Department of Counseling Services,
Yeah.
and we work closely together, and we're even co-located once we go back to
Well, when we
our
get there,
building.
for right now, no matter,
Yeah.
from the beginning, even through the COVID times, all your resources are free. I
Hmm.
really, really loved you sharing these SNAP techniques, because I kind of forgot how important they are. Like, when you learn something and you think, oh yeah, I know how to do that, but then you have all these life situations that maybe keep popping up and you forget that you have these tools in your tool belt. So
Hmm.
I'm so grateful to you, like so, so, so grateful.
Oh, thank
That,
you for having me. I hope it helps someone.
well, it helped me. So
Well, then,
it will.
maymission accomplished. No.
And I know, yeah, but then I also know that you never know when someone will come across a video like this. And the most
True.
important thing is they may not come across it today or tomorrow or next month. It could be 6 months from now. Who knows? The point is,
Hmm.
I don't ever want people in our community in the Cayman Islands to ever feel like they're alone. I want people to know that there are amazing resources and helpful people like you out there. And you're so kind and so caring and so thoughtful. And I think people need to be reminded that being kind and being thoughtful is so important at a time like this. And
Hmm.
it's just like an extra bonus that it's free as well.
I know.
So,
You think about, I mean, this country is pretty amazing, and I feel so blessed and so fortunate to be able to still provide this so important service during this time. And and that the government provides it for free. I don't know any other, like the United States doesn't do that, where I'm from.
yeah.
And, I've been here 10 years, and it's like, wow, I just, and to see how this community, really does help each other. And just like you starting this page to help, bring it all in one place,
I just
and
wanted
to
to
be a
make sure
part
that,
of that. And again, I just feel like the more we can get this information out there, like you said, you never know who might share it with someone else. It's all, you can only do the best you can with the tools you have. And as a parent, the more tools you have in your parenting tool belt, the better. As I say, if all you have in your parenting tool belt is a hammer, you're going to address every problem like it's a nail. And you know what? Sometimes you need as many tools in there as you can, because sometimes this tool worked on this situation, but it won't work again. You're
yeah,
going to need something else,
I couldn't agree. I
And
love
so,
analogies.
yeah. And so it's just so important that you try to learn as much as you can. And I mean, I wish I knew so much more than I did when I first started out being a parent 26 years ago. But I still have a 21-year-old here at home going to college, and
Mhm.
she's doing online classes, and we're having to coordinate our schedules. Like, she's doing exams and I'm doing a Zoom conference, and we've got this new puppy. And so we have to talk, we have
Well,
to communicate.
on a happy note, before we say goodbye to everybody, please, please, if you would, I didn't want to bring up your puppy, but I know about your puppy. for a positive, happy note, will you tell us about this new puppy and how this puppy got the name that it got?
Oh yes, we decided to foster a puppy during COVID-19 because there were so many people. We there was a plea, and this popped up on the March 22nd, and she's this beautiful little German Shepherd puppy. But they said she's about 17 months old, and we went and met her. We're like, we fell in love with her, and we were like, well, we didn't want to call her the name they had her at the
Yeah.
Humane Society, her original name.
The names never, remember, the
Yeah,
names don't really
they
matter
just,
with dog. They're
right,
just given,
no.
yeah.
And so we thought, with everything going on with the COVID-19, with the virus, and it feeling kind of apocalyptic, and
Yes.
we thought of the movie with Will Smith, I Am Legend, and
Great movie.
I know, and his dog is a German Shepherd, a
Yes.
female dog named Samantha, who he calls Sam.
Yes.
That's perfect,
Yes.
hopefully we won't become, we
It
won't
won't
have
be
that
bad. It
same.
won't be as bad as the movie. It won't.
No, but it just felt right, and like we're saving her, and we're ended up adopting her because we absolutely love her.
She's
And
yours.
yeah,
The minute you put her in your house, that was your dog. So
yeah, and
well,
she's been very healing for us, and it's been a really good distraction for us.
a buffer, I bet. Sometimes when moments can be like a little tense, or I've always
Hmm.
found my dog helps me with everything. It's like a nice
Yeah,
little distraction. I'm not going to
and
deal with
she's still so
dog.
playful and
Yeah.
bouncy and trouncy, and she's like a little Tigger. you know
Love it.
and we're just having the best fun with her, training her and throwing the frisbee and the tennis ball, and it's just been a real win-win for us. And
Yeah.
so if you can foster an animal right now, a lot of people have been dropping them off because they've had to leave island,
I
or they say
wonder
they
about
can't take care of them. And so, yes, I
that.
mean,
Okay,
you
so
don't have to keep them, but gosh, if they could be in a home, and we're home all day, so it's been perfect
I was
you
gonna,
know
yeah. I actually was thinking to myself, I never really thought about what my dog goes through day to day when I leave the house and then I come back
hmm
later. And I just sat there and thought, well, my dog stays at home all day long with
hmm
nobody around, and
hmm
she's just happy to see me. I'm like, this is why she's so happy to see me.
I know.
She's like, I've been alone all day and now you're here. And now I'm like, okay, so this is what it feels like in a dog's life.
Exactly,
And
right.
it's definitely giving me another perspective, but I didn't think about some of the people that may be leaving the Cayman Islands for various
Yeah.
reasons, that and that maybe if there was a dog they were fostering that they are no longer able to foster. So I
Or
love.
even own, they own pets too, and they
Oh,
had to leave. But,
oh,
in a lot of ways, Sammy is kind of like my toddler
yeah.
because she wants attention, and
Oh yes.
she'll come up, and she'll, I'm in a Zoom conference or something, and she's like, "Hey,"
Come
and
pet me, let's go do.
she starts trying to get my attention in a negative way, and
Oh,
I'm like, "Oh, this is what's happening." She's like, I'm not giving her attention, so she's going to get it any way she can. And kids are no different. They'd rather get negative attention than be ignored.
oh my gosh, I never thought about that. That
Yes,
makes a lot of
kids want
sense.
your attention. They want that connection.
Yeah.
And like my dog, my puppy she wants to connect with me. And she's like, stop staring at that screen all day.
Here,
Pay
I'm
attention
here.
to me.
What's
Kids are
funny
no
is
different.
my dog is in the corner and she has the whole house to herself. She can go in whichever room she wants. And yet when I'm sitting at this desk, there's a little corner that she likes to go sit in, and she just like lays there. And then sometimes she passes out and just starts snoring, and I'm just like, okay. But
I
no,
know.
it brings a lot of comic. I actually think dogs are animals right now, pets, anything right now, and including
Mhm.
also if people look at, I think, being joyous around their children. I know it might feel hard right now, but I think it's also really important to go have fun with your kids,
Yes. Oh,
like a hula
you
hoop.
need to take 10 or 15 minutes and go for a walk outside, go toss the ball with your kid, go
Turn
play
the
a
music on
game.
and dance for 10 minutes.
Yeah, have a dance off, do something, get a body break. Like I have to get, thank goodness, I take the dog outside, like at lunchtime, we walk around the house, and we play ball, and I get outside, I get the fresh air, I get the
Body
sunshine.
move. Yeah.
I feel better. I've broken up that monotony. I'm not just doing this. you know, it's like we're on this hamster wheel, and we got to get off this hamster wheel and
Yeah.
do something different. I was reading a study the other day about, there's something called the nature pill. And the study shows that if you take 15 to 20 minutes a day and go outside and connect with nature, whether it's sitting on your front porch, going for a walk, just, you know, touching the
Yeah.
leaves, getting your feet on the ground, whatever, it actually lowers your cortisol levels,
You know what?
which is the stress hormone.
Oh
They
yeah.
did the test. They tested people's saliva before and then after a month, and the stress levels, the cortisol levels in the people that took the nature pill,
Yeah.
uh, their cortisol levels were a lot lower. And when your cortisol levels are lower, you sleep better.
You have a better attitude.
You have a better life, you know?
Yeah, I struggled the when we were allowed to do the beach walks. I was totally happy because for me, I spent 15 years walking on the beach every morning. So for me, the beach walks were part of my normal. And
Hmm.
when, you know, for all the different reasons that the government has had to make the choices that they've had to make, and I totally 100% support the decisions that they're making because this is saving lives. When they
Yes.
made the decision to say, well, we can't go to, you know, the community, nobody can go to the beach. I'm not going to lie, it broke my heart a little bit, but I understood. But I had a couple days where I was just like, well, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. And I don't want to walk because
That sounds like a hard thought.
oh, yeah, lots of hard thoughts. I was like, I can't walk, and there's all these people around, and then there's all these cyclists, and they don't have their face masks. I must have made a million excuses about, well, if my beach was not available to me, then I guess I was just going to have to be miserable. That lasted for a couple of days, and I got so unhappy, and my body got so tight that I was just like, I give up. I have to do something. And I went for a walk, and what I've recognized since I've changed my attitude and thought, you know what? I said, well, I don't really want to go out for a walk, but we'll just do 10 minutes. We'll put the timer on and we'll put 10 minutes. And if you want to walk longer, you can. But if you get frustrated, all you need to do is be outside for 10 minutes. And that totally changed.
Hmm.
That 10 minutes turned into 20, that 20 turned into 30. And all of a sudden now I'm busy walking and taking pictures of every little beautiful thing, and I've got funny stories. I feel like I'm in some sort of like what are those, like I'm in an action movie trying to like dodge the bikers, and I'm trying to like I no, it's like a video game in my head. I'm
Yeah. Hey, whatever makes you happy, entertains you, right?
yeah,
I mean, we need to get our kids outside, you
yes.
know, like build in body breaks, build in
What
outdoor
happens
breaks.
when you have teenagers that don't want to listen though? A lot of parents are trying to encourage their kids to get outside, and the teenage kids are like no. And then when the families say, well, oh, like, well, your mom and your dad are going to go, let's go. When a 14-year-old says, I don't want to go, what do
Say, you can be empathetic, like, I know you don't want to go. Come on.
I don't want to go.
I know, come on. I know you don't want to go. Come on.
So really, because I think some people think like once they get to a certain age, you can't tell them what to do, and you can't like you just
The thing is, you've got to talk to your teenagers, and we're going to have a webinar on teenagers.
you will.
We're going to put out our schedule and all the webinars, but I'll send that to you.
Well, that would be
But
perfect. So you
yeah,
got one
it's really,
specifically on teenagers that want to stay in their rooms and don't
yes.
go out and do anything. And
And they want to stay on their devices. Yes.
yeah,
So I think right now we're on our devices a lot more. The kids are on their devices a lot more. We're kind of entered their world in a way, you know,
yeah, I
and
know.
technology has saved us a lot. And so, you
Yes,
know, I think we need to have a little compassion and understanding. A lot of kids are socializing through their devices, but I think it's always about a balance. And you
there
know,
must
those
be time.
devices are a privilege too. You know,
Yeah,
it's kind of like, you know, well, when you come out and side with us for 10 minutes, then you can go back on your game. But you got to have those parental controls. You've got to have screen time app in place or something where you can
yeah.
actually control that.
Okay.
So that, because you got to put limits and boundaries. You know, all children need limits and boundaries and choices within those boundaries.
Yeah.
And as they get bigger, they get more and more choices.
Freedoms. Yeah.
Yeah, freedom. It's, we call it the V of love. And so, you know, the limitations are, they don't have as many as they get older. But they have to be able to learn to make choices, and we had to give them those opportunities. So, but that's a privilege. Again, you have that house meeting, and hey, this is a privilege. Your iPad, your PS4, these are all privileges, and the way you earn that privilege is by, one expectation is you go outside once a day for 10 minutes.
And then give them the freedom to choose to say it can be by yourself.
It could be in the morning, it could be in the evening, it could be at lunch, it
So
could be whatever you want to do.
It can be with us. It can be as a family. You can
Yeah. So you've given them the expectation, but you've given them choices.
So
right?
when they want to choose to do it, so that if they sleep all day long and it's 30 minutes before curfew and they still haven't gone out because they have all these choices.
Yeah, that's true. Does it really matter as long as they get out?
Well, that's what
You got to pick and choose your battles, right? You got to pick and choose your battles. So, I mean, teenagers are, they get a bad rap a lot of times. I think they're going through a lot of changes and coming from a place of empathy as well. And so often with teens, we're like, oh, that's when we start distancing from them. And we need to do the complete opposite. I feel very blessed. I have my 3 daughters. We've remained close all the time. And
you're awesome.
And I made mistakes too. I messed up, but I also repaired.
Yeah.
If I messed up, maybe I yelled at them, I lost my temper, I would repair, I would apologize. I'm like, you know what, in this family, we don't talk to each other like that. I'm sorry, my bad. And didn't make excuses.
So, you know what, that is
because then they learn to do that. They learn to take responsibility. Not like, you made me so mad. If you hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have gotten mad. That's not taking responsibility.
That's blaming, and
that's blaming.
And that's making it sound like someone else is responsible for your bad behavior, your bad words.
Exactly. When you're giving that person all that control, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to yell. It's not okay to hit. It's not okay to lie. It's not okay to steal. It's all about teaching that there's that responsibility for your own choices, and behaviors of choice.
Oh my gosh, I love this. All right, so the next 2 classes, we definitely are going to be able to promote that. You've got the parenting, the working at home, the parenting with balancing the homeschooling stuff. You have a class
and working remotely,
and working remotely, and then you also have the class that deals or talks about having teenagers for children.
Yes, well, every week we're going to have a webinar, and it's going to be a different topic each week, like positive discipline, taking care, and also on our Facebook page. Like this week, we've been focusing on self-care and relationships. Last week, 1 week we focused on positive discipline techniques. Another week we focus on technology. We're just we don't want to bombard our parents with too much information, but go through our Facebook posts or Instagram posts and look at them, and maybe something will jump out and work for you. Even if it's just one tool. The when then tool is one of my favorites. When you finish your schoolwork, then you can go outside, or when you finish your dinner, then you can have dessert. When you pick up your toys, then you can.
Oh,
when then.
All right, so it's the when then rule. And I didn't even realize it was I didn't even realize it was a tool. It's just something I say to get somebody to do what I want them to do. It's like,
well, because the expectation,
you get that.
The expectation is understood that they're to do it. But it's up to them when.
Yeah.
Hey, when you clean your room, then you can have a Zoom conference with your friends.
Oh, I love this. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I know that there's probably a few other things that you have to do with your day, and I know that I can talk forever on it.
I could too. I love all this stuff. We could just keep going. But it's a good thing we're going to do this again next week, right?
I was just about to reconfirm. Are you still in? Because I know I thought Zoom would only let us have 40 minutes, but apparently if it's just you and me chatting, then apparently it lets us go for much longer. So this is amazing. We will see you next week, Friday at 3:30. We'll be posting the event and all the details on our page a little bit later on after we post this video. So Miles, Ruby, you're an amazing woman, and thank you for taking the time out. And I'm so glad.
My pleasure.
Of all the places you could be in the world during COVID-19, I'm glad you're in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, me too. Thank you. I feel privileged to be here.
All right, take care, and we will catch up with you a little bit later.